All right, family, we black. Papa's got a brand new bag. Brother Sankofa, Brother Sankofa is live and in pure melanin color, nice and light now. He switched up the technology and we should be just fine. Brother Sankofa, I don't want to take up no more time running my mouth. Go right ahead, sir.
Okay, so where I was just talking about before we had the little technical dysfunction and difficulty, we was talking about the vaccination. I was asking you, was you going to take the vaccine? That's where we cut off at. I was
Right.
like, what about you, Baba?
No,
Are you
sir.
going to take the vaccination?
I got enough.
The pressure gets on you.
I got enough lead in me from all the motherfucked up vaccinations they put in me. So hell no. I learned better than, I know more now than what I knew back then. And so, no, I will not be taken in light of the history of the Caucasian in relationship to the darker skinned people of the earth and of people of color and with color. There's no way in hell that I'm prejudiced. I'm not taking the vaccine. No, sir.
Okay, that's dope. And I can definitely see where you're coming from, know and understand where you're coming from, and all of that. It's crazy because when I was young, when I'm sure when you was too, you're not that much older than me, Baba, that for certain things we had to take vaccinations in school. I think polio, the flu shot. I mean, I don't think you had to, like they're trying to impose this, but it was, and you didn't see a lot of outbreaks, or it didn't appear to that you did, unless I missed something. But with this, a pandemic is crazy because if you look at it, there was I think it was called the bird flu, or was it the Spanish flu? 100 years ago, I believe in the 1920s, 1920, something, basically almost 100 years ago. And I think globally, ecumenally, or globally speaking, there was 10 million people who have died. You know what I'm saying? From that, or was it smallpox even before that? But they have the smallpox vaccine too. A lot of people were taking it. You stop seeing the spread of it like that. So some people are going to use that to, maybe levy a point to say, well, there was other vaccinations we've been taking, and this didn't just affect black people. This affected people. It's a pandemic, not just an epidemic. And therefore, if you don't take it, you're going to be a threat to yourself or other blacks. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not taking it, it's contributing to furthering the spread of the disease. You know what I'm saying? So some people are going to have that kind of stance. You can already expect it. I already said what my stance is. I try to be on a healthy regimen, live a certain way, a healthy lifestyle, stay fit for the most part, take my elderberries and, you know what I'm saying? Drink my ginger and my vitamin C naturally from lime. You know what I mean? A lot of other different things that I do to just try to maintain some level of optimal health. But you could never be too careful. You know what I'm saying? But, nonetheless, I'm going to try to apply what I do know and try to dodge what I see is a mark of the beast in a certain form. It says no man will be able to buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast. I mean, if you can't go to work, you ain't going to be able to buy or sell unless you have that. That's why I say it's probably synonymous with some people perspective of the mark of the beast in the book of Revelations in the Bible. However, skipping that and just talking about some other things, getting back to shout out. Somebody said, what up, brother Sankofa? Dorchester's in the house. Javelin Lightning, definitely. Dorchester's in the house. Three's up. Boston, Mass, my hometown. You know what I'm saying? No matter where I'm at, that Boston blood is pumping thoroughly through my veins. You know what I'm saying? So, getting back to the topic at hand, we was talking about just highlighting some of the events, and there were many, that took place in this year, the year 2000. As we're coming to a conclusion, we have to really consider a lot of things. This was a year. It was a defining year, once again, for a lot of different reasons. So many losses, so much tragedy, so much despair, from riots to you seeing what looked like some kind of revolution about to take place after the pigs caused the early demise of our brother, George Floyd. You know what I'm saying? You've seen a lot of civil unrest. You see a lot of anarchy or anarchist out causing a lot of billions of millions of dollars, close to billions probably nationally, of property damage and in the city's financial districts and epicenters in all major cities. You've seen this going on, an outcry for social reform against the injustice that we have been subjected to for so long, intergenerationally, where we're still a people crying out for change on a collective level. You know what I'm saying? Because we know that that is our plight and that's our age-old fight. So we're seeing a lot of things turning up this year that look like it's heading towards something to accelerate the momentum in our pursuits for social justice, something that we have been systematically denied by design for so long. You know what I mean? And we're still seeing this. So you've seen, because of the disproportionate distribution of wealth, privilege, which translates into worse healthcare and even worse physical health conditions. Our people are some of the people that have some of the worst health and some of the worst health care, collectively speaking. When the COVID hit, it hit us hard. It hit us real hard. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that taps into a lot of different disparities, socially speaking, from wealth gaps to disproportionate distribution of so many different privileges and things that are supposed to be allocated and given to American citizens. You know what I mean? That we're seeing the outcry on a level that kind of reflects back in the 60s, when I would see old documentaries or series that would chronicleize the different plights that our people were standing and fighting for, dying for, becoming incarcerated political prisoners for, since back then. It's like a revision of that on an uptick, because even the Kerner Commission was a commission that was commissioned in Lyndon Johnson's era that wanted to go investigate and see what is the causes for so much urban or civil unrest. You know what I mean? What are the causes for this, so we can devise a counter stratagem against it? Not a solution, but a counter stratagem. But that's all that came out of that. There's not their best interest for our solution orientation. You know what I'm saying? Many of our great ancestors and leaders and teachers, Garvey, Malcolm, Huey, you know what I'm saying? Wilmot Blyden, you know what I'm saying? Already tried to warn us of the what we were facing 100 years ago if we didn't separate, if we didn't build our own, and we didn't become self-sufficient and independent and become a nation within a nation. Even everybody wasn't supposed to go back to Africa, but becoming a nation within a nation. And a lot of our attempts we see were cut short, from MOVE to East St. Louis riots to Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, to Rosewood, and a lot of attempts. Now, this is not to boogeyman-ize you either. You know what I'm saying? From the Sankofa dictionary. I know boogeyman-ize isn't a real word, but it's a concept. It's a real concept if you can just consider. I'm not trying to say because we faced backlashes for trying to do for self before that we should never make an attempt to try to do it again. No, that means we got to try harder, become stronger, become more self-sufficient, become more nationalistic in our attempts for collective advancement, improvement, and social reform. A lot of that has to take place with us, but what happens is a lot of us, we're waiting for somebody to hand that to us. We're waiting for somebody to give us liberation. One hand took your freedom, your liberation, your culture, your humanity away, and a lot of times we're expecting representatives of those hands or descendants of those same hands to return it back to us. We're expecting them to steal it. Well, they already stole it, but we're expecting the thief to return that which is old. You know what I'm saying? And to some extent, I mean, let's put some things in perspective. It's crazy because going back to the election, you know what I'm saying? It seemed like the real Uncle Tom and Coon Brigade just we always see the bourgeoisie class, or you know what I'm saying, our false, I don't call them our leaders, our misleaders, you know what I'm saying, on the forefront, misleading us. You know what I'm saying? Or not representing us, but representing a small elite class of bourgeoisie blacks that don't have the collective interest of all blacks in mind. So we seen like just a lot of the coon brigade, as I call them, coming out the woodworks, especially when Jim Crow Joe was elected or projected to be elected. You had people like the likes of Vance Jones, Roland Martin, you know, actually on TV, all misty-eyed and teary-eyed. I guess those are supposed to be tears of joy or relief, you know? I don't know. But it was just crazy to see that. And they were felt so joyous because Donald Trump wasn't in office. Donald Trump, yes, another white supremacist. However, he was a white supremacist, sidebar, in my opinion, that was kind of good for us because he took the mask off. Not that we didn't know racism was there. We've seen a lot in the Obama administration. White supremacist groups and organizations rose at a 400% increase. We've seen a lot of lynchings, police shootings, an uptick in that now, just like in the Reconstruction era, when blacks were trying to establish and obtain political power. We got the backlash of the Southern White Knights and the Ku Klux Klan. A lot of them who got into political office to stop us and then terrorize us and have military wings. That's what the KKK was, a military wing of the Democratic Party to stop us. You know what I mean? To stop us from collectively gaining any kind of power or stronghold in here. Because one thing the white man is against is equality. Is not sharing equality with you as a collective. Now, there may be a couple of symbolic bourgeoisie people that are put in positions of power because it seems like the same people that bred the mentality that we have, right? They breed us and then know what to feed us, mentally speaking. So they know, okay, all we got to do is give these people symbols with no substance. You know what I mean? And then, you know, you have people chasing the illusion of inclusion. It seems like in 1964, with the passing of the Civil Rights Bill, right? Voting Rights Act, right after that, under President Lyndon Johnson, right? Who was a notorious white supremacist, who was known and noted for saying, rather, that after he passed this bill, right, that I would have these niggas voting Democrat for the next 100 years. I would have these niggas voting Democrat for the next 100 years. I mean, and it seems like they don't want you to do something that is in your best interest. I'm not saying voting for Democrat or Republican is in your best interest, but for a long time, since we were, as a people, as a group, for the most part, have been voting Republican, and the Democratic Party has been going bananas on us. It was, and the Republican Party. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of them were aligning themselves with blacks via that party. You know what I'm saying? Especially right here where I'm dwelling at now, at Wilmington, North Carolina, when you had the Populist Party, which was blacks and some whites from the Republican Party came together and had the Fusionist Party, and as a result of doing that, legitimately elected the first black person, you know, to a political seat in Wilmington, North Carolina in 1890, the 1890s, I believe, and it resulted in a bloodbath and a massacre under the Democratic Party. You know what I'm saying? Under the Democrats. You know what I'm saying? Not that the Democrats or the Republican is either one of your friends, but I'm just looking at it and trying to put something in historic perspective. And it seems like back to up to the 60s, from 1820s, 1890, excuse me, and Wilmington, North Carolina, Lyndon Johnson said, we'll be having Negroes voting Democrat for the next 100 years. What is their best interest in having you vote Democrat? Anything that is not in your best interest, they will support. Anything that is against you, therefore, anything that's for you, they're against. So it just makes you just ask yourself. I'm not going to give you something that you can say is a conspiracy. I throw out information and see how your mind connects the dots and how you psychologically digest and process what it is upon, you know, looking at it and doing your own research and coming to your own conclusion. You know what I'm saying? He said that, and it seemed like since we've been voting Democrat since the 1960s, we felt like, okay, wow, we didn't have nothing before that. We was considered 3/5 of a human. Our vote was considered 3/5 of a vote. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until recent times after, John F. Kennedy assassination, President Lyndon Johnson was in effect, in the passing of the Civil Rights Bill. Boom, we had a major executive order and bill that was passed that gave us a sense of inclusion. So a lot of people became loyal to the Democrat Party as a result of that, because it looked like a step. It was really a chess move on their behalf. Because since we've been under, as a collective, as a group, not all of us just was one thing or another, but as a group collectively, more people became Democrat supporters or joining the Democrat Party. And over the last 50 years, we have more Black, as far as a community go, disenfranchisement. We have gotten less. We have seen less of our own businesses in the communities, trades, all kind of different things that benefited us and helped us sustain in a time when we were in a turbulent, racist, segregated time. That then what we have now, even though we have more Black millionaires, billionaires, Blacks in political positions of power, token concessions to a great extent. And the reason why I say that is because many of the leaders are misleaders and are not there to represent the best interests of the collective. So when you see Black-looking people as being represented by the general public or the media, mainstream media, as being a symbol of hope, transformation, and advancement for us, you got to understand the tricknology and the trickery. And the teachings of Elijah Muhammad even teaches, he says this: why do our people love the devil? Why do our people love the devil? The devil meaning the system. You know what I'm saying? For instance, you know what I'm saying? It breaks down into many things, but, just, narrow and marginalize it to a specific point. Let's just say the system. Why do our people love the devil? Because the devil gives them nothing. Our people love the devil because he gives them nothing. So that means if a civil rights, voting rights bill was passed, when prior to that you didn't have that, and we've been fighting for freedom since the Emancipation Proclamation, you know what I'm saying? It's been an uphill battle with a lot of lynchings and terrorism and all kind of things going on. You know what I'm saying? Because the illusion of inclusion was given to us, we've been chasing the ghost of freedom ever since, for the last 50 years. And then you got brothers on TV all misty-eyed, seem like strategically, up there crying. You had James Biden, I think his name was, or Jim Biden, something like that. I don't want to say the name wrong. They asked him right after the day that he was projected as being the next president, Joe Biden. What do you want from the Biden election? What do you expect to come out of that? What do you want? It seemed like a strategic question. What do you want? Because Black people have been saying we need some Black agenda. That has been one of the main highlighted themes of the campaign for both parties. So when he says, what did you want? Or what do you want or expect out of Biden's campaign for African Americans? I don't want nothing. I don't want nothing. And, I just want, my kids to live in a more, paraphrasing, less racist and environment. Like, wow. You see what I'm saying? And it's crazy because, hey, it reminds me of that Biggie song, Baba. The world is filled with pimps and hoes. We'll just talk about those I know. The world is filled with pimps and hoes. So a lot of times, a lot of these people who are portrayed as our leaders or organizations that are portrayed, such as the Urban League, NAACP, not to say they don't do any good, but for many years, especially under the Democratic Party, we've had a lot of symbolic leaders, or what I say is misleaders, with no substance. So I believe that a lot of things that have been happening in this year that we're seeing in our lifetime are things that we really need to pay close attention to, really take into serious consideration, and use to motivate us to really get serious about our health, about our economics, about our education, about our survival and our self-preservation. These are what these signs of these times ought to be perceived as gearing us to do. You know why? Because if we don't, at this point, it's on us. You see what I'm saying? Um, it's on us. You know what I'm saying? Look at, for instance, Ice Cube. He had the contract for Black America. Ice Cube had the contract. O'Shea Jackson, Ice Cube, the contract for Black America. So within it, you know, and it was put together by some very intelligent brothers, college students, I believe, from the University of Ohio. So you know, he definitely had some help by some from scholars and intellects putting and composing it and putting together what I see was a brilliant and something that is critically needed. And you know, these times are politicizing us. When I say politicized, I don't mean electoral politics. It means really understanding how you have to levy certain things in the system. There's electoral politics, and then there's politics that deal with economics, that deal with all kind of other things. The wealth gap is one of the main things that you see consistently keeping the disparities the way they are. So by him coming up with a contract that will help to close the wealth gap, because it took systematic or systemic plans and strategies to disenfranchise us, right? It's going to take to some and to a great extent political things along some lines, especially economic, to actually fix a lot of the things that politics have been used consistently to strict and strategically to keep us disenfranchised, disorganized, and to keep us on the bottom as a group. Although we have more Black millionaires, Black billionaires, Black intellects, Black scientists, we have everything that it needs to build a nation, to become an independent and self-sufficient people. A lot of what we don't have is a sense of nationalism. What I mean by nationalism isn't the symbolic outer exterior perception of what nationalism is perceived by many as, the dashiki, the fish, the cultural outer representation of that. No, I mean the political or the economic game plan, therefore, which manifests into a functional thing that can give us tangibles and that we can really benefit from. You know what I'm saying? Even though we may not all face the east when we pray together, you know what I'm saying? We might not all have the same exact worldview. However, there is a common thread that we have and a common enemy and a common outcome if we fail to look at things for what they are going on in the year, the last few years, not just 2020. I'm using that because we're coming to the conclusion of this year, and this year was a very defining year. A lot's took place in this year, has taken place this year, and I think is only wise and reasonable to deduce that we have to consider seriously what's to come and what role do we play in it? What is the outcome for us? Ice Cube had the plan for Black America. Now he's nonpartisan, right? And I get that. It's about who has the best, who wants to sit down and bring the best tangibles or package to the table, that we want to sit down and have people that qualified to discuss these things or put these things on the table to negotiate, to levy a vote to work to our advantage. Not just to vote because your ancestors couldn't vote and it was considered 3/4 of a vote, 3/5 of a vote, excuse me, when you was able to. And now because grandma, great grandmama died for you to vote, you're utilizing your freedom to do your due diligence. And that's one way to look at it, but then that's symbol with no substance again. Because if we don't have an agenda or nothing that we collectively want, see, that's a problem with our, like when you have nationalism, like most other cultures have, right? Especially a lot of people who are coming here as immigrants, immigrant class people, they come here and they have group economics. They support each other. And a lot of these groups just came here a few years ago, it seems like. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we know that it's rigged to some extent for them to excel beyond us because we're unwanted eaters here, and we're a population that they can't just deport, because through the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, we're citizens. So you systematically eliminate those who are unwanted eaters, and you usher in a new group of labor force people and all. We're seeing this happening. But the thing is, if we need to really have a collective agenda, a collective objective, not everybody's going to have it, but enough where we can go sit down and negotiate, not just with your hat in your hand, sitting at the table, watching others negotiate and delegate what they see for you, which is crumbs, except for the bourgeoisie people at the top who just want theirs and don't really care about none of y'all and don't really care about none of us. You know what I'm saying? But I respect what Ice Cube did, but he went, because he's nonpartisan. He wanted to sit down with whoever. He reached out to the Democratic Party. He reached out to Joe Biden's campaign. And they told him, we get back with you after, we get elected. This wasn't even if he was sure he would get elected. Meaning that's not even saying something, you know what? Got a woman of color, black people are losing their minds over there in office. That would be powerful now if we have something substantial. We got something symbolic. Now he's bringing something to the table that's potentially substantive. This could really fill in a lot of gaps and really address a lot of the systematic and social issues that black people have been fighting against for so long. Let's just look into it. It was pushed to the side. But guess what he did say when he gets into office? It was Donald Trump. He wanted his campaign at least sat down with Cube. You know what I'm saying? Was it going to be a fluke? We don't know that. But the fact that Joe Biden, who best friend at one point, I think his name is Robert Byrd, was the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and he did his eulogy and said, well, he was a great man and he was my mentor. In part, he said this. He was a great man and he was my mentor. This is your president, Uncle Joe. Uncle Tom is very happy because Uncle Joe is in office now. You know what I'm saying? He's tearing up. He's getting misty-eyed and all kind of crazy because the devil has given him nothing. And then the slap in the face and the insult to injury was this. When he did his speech, he said, well, black people, he even acknowledged, black people really saved me in this presidential campaign, in this election. It was the African American, the foundational black American, who really came through and voted in record numbers. More people voted than have ever voted before to put him in office. They projected, I don't know how true it is, but they projected that he has more votes than any other presidential candidate has ever had in history. And if we were, our vote, our voice, our power, collectively speaking, was able to put him in office, and he's put nothing tangible on, he has the so-called lift every voice, you know what I'm saying, agenda for black people's empowerment and improvement. But how much have we or he have been talking about that? Black Democratic leaders have been trying to reach out to him since he's been the president-elect. And he was ignoring their calls. He ignored their calls. They had to publicly humiliate him to show that he wasn't even answering their calls just to get him on the phone. And then when you hear the private call that leaked in the context of the conversation and what they dialogued about, you had Al Sharpton. Now, come on, now I know the Joe Biden that I know and the Kamala Harris that I know ain't like this. So that means they were showing, listen to the leak call, that there was some discontent, even though that they know that we pushed and advocated and galvanized our people to go out and vote in record numbers. Like Malcolm X said, when you don't have nationalism, the ballot of the bullet speech, if you don't have nationalism, man, listen, you put them in the big house and they put you in the dog house. You put them in the big house and they put you in the dog house. Why? Because you're a political chump. That's what Malcolm X said. And that's true. It still stands true now, probably even more so than then. Probably even more so now than it did then with all the symbolic black success. You know what I'm saying? In the form of the small elite bourgeoisie class or certain other people who are paid to like the meritorious manumission laws of 1710, that blacks were given certain kind of privileges in society or advantages over other slaves, or even money or rewards. Meritorious manumission act that was passed in Virginia first in 1710, and then it was adopted by other states, that if blacks snitched on another black, entertained whites good enough, or did something to benefit whites, that would stop the advancement of their own, especially, which would cause for more people to go tell if somebody was trying to plan a revolt or plan to escape or what have you, or was, talking on the low to abolitionists, they'll go tell and get a reward. So you see a lot of that meritorious manumission type of shit going on now in the form of our black misleaders who've gotten theirs, and who symbolically have us thinking that we've advanced because they have a concession, you know what I'm saying, given to them, you know what I'm saying? But they bring nothing to the table for us, and they don't represent us. They've disengaged themselves from us, so they're not our real leaders. We have to become our leaders. And what I mean by that, as a group of people, we need to lead ourselves into the right direction moving forward. Will it happen? Or maybe the pressure on us will force many among us to have to adapt to the change and become revolutionized, and the winds of change will buffer us and mold us and shape us into a wiser, smarter, stronger, more focused, more aligned, and more nationalistic oriented people for our own collective self-preservation. Because if not, we're in big trouble. If not, we're in very big trouble. You know what I'm saying? And Ice Cube, his platinum package, he's working on it, he's upgrading it, he's adding more things. He didn't give up on it. But Joe Biden said in this first 100 days, he told them, I'll talk to y'all after I get elected. That was if he had gotten elected. Now, when he did get, he said the first 100 days that he's in office, what is he gonna do? Who is he gonna look out for? The LGBTQ community. Executive orders, more. Obama, I guess, didn't do enough for him, even though he did nothing for us. Only thing we got out of the Obama administration was, a cell phone and some good memories, and some good feel-goodism for 8 years. But we got nothing out of other minority groups and all that. We got nothing. Illegal immigrants, the LGBTQ community got things out of it. Everybody but you. You know what I'm saying? But you did feel good. And that's what a lot of us like. We like the devil, like Elijah Muhammad taught, because he gave us nothing. So therefore, we're always chasing the illusion of the freedom ghost. He never responded to that. You're right, Broham. Joe Biden never responded to that. He never really even went into his, and hold up, he's going to do something for them in his first 100 days in office. He said, after he already acknowledged that it was the black vote that helped him get into power, that helped him to become elected as the president. It was our outstanding turnout that impacted to a great deal what we see now as the president-elect Joe Biden. You know what I'm saying? But the first thing he wants to put on, not a cause to empower and improve the conditions of black people. And we know things happen in stages. We have to play the main role in our liberation. I'm not saying like I expect him or Donald Trump to do nothing, even, don't get me wrong. I'm just putting in perspective per what took place and what people's expectation was, and how we got to critically look at things and analyze things and dissect things and see them for what they are. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be at the root. We have to be the nucleus of the change that we're looking for. We can't expect others to do for us, but we have to levy and know how to play chess on a extended political chessboard of life in America that we're living in. You know what I'm saying? Because here it is, they're benefiting. The LGBTQ believe they have more unity than black people too. So a lot of them put their money together, their resources together, whether it's intellectual or whether it's financial, and then there's other, whether you like the word agenda or conspiracy or not, that is at the root of why that even took place. It's not today's topic, though. We can go into that heavily on another topic. But you see, what somebody wants to do with the same sex's booty hole is more important than tangibles for black. What somebody's sexual orientation and preference, and to each his or her own is, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying that is more important and was at the top of the list of what he wants to do in the first 100 days in office, even though he ignored people from the Urban League, people from the National Action Network, and people from the NAACP. And they had to do all kind of knocking at his door, like the Jehovah's Witness early in the morning, man. You know what I'm saying? Just try to get a response and didn't get none. You know what I'm saying? So we got to look at these things, and we shouldn't be surprised by what we're saying. You know what I'm saying? And even if a little is done, we shouldn't use that as a reason to go to hell back to sleep. Because when you seen all these niggas dancing and singing and crying, it was like the second return of Christ that they're looking for. But you know what I'm saying? Like he was the hype man for the second return of Christ or something, how happy black people was. And I'm like, wow, they're happy. We're happy with no tangibles. I think that's why people feel comfortable treating us the way that we do. Because over the last 50 years, our misleaders haven't really, you know what I'm saying, been fighting for collective tangibles. They've been sitting at the table, but not influencing what goes on at the table as far as we're concerned. You see what I'm saying? And it's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? 2020, the election year. You know what I'm saying? We got to look at other things too. We don't just always want to look at the negative, because a lot of stuff, like I said, took place in 2020. A lot of things is taking place. When you see things take place the way that it's doing, the way that it is, on the magnitude that it is, these are stage setters. These are stage setters for what's to come. So we're living in a transitional time. There's going to be a new normal. There's going to be a new normal. You know what I'm saying? That we're going to have to, I guess, recalibrate ourselves to adjust to and to adapt to and to survive within and to advance and thrive within. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, hey, Akon, shout out to Akon. I always liked Akon because you know what he does to contribute to the continental Africans, you know what I'm saying, which is his foundation and his homeland. I like the way he always puts his people first. He didn't become famous. He's very wealthy. He's more wealthier than some of the people who are more famous and have glitz and glamour contemporarily that you see in the media on the reg. You know what I'm saying? But he's still committed to doing for himself and for kind over in Africa. He's building I don't know if you heard of this, Bob, multi-billion dollar smart city in Senegal. A multi-billion dollar smart city in Senegal. You know what I'm saying? And he's offering dual citizenship and repatriation to African Americans. That's dope. So even if you don't move there, you know, to get dual citizenship or to invest in the land or stocks, you know what I'm saying? Or tech companies, you know, that may be in that city and stuff, because that's where the money's at. Like, there's so many opportunities and options for us that we need to really start to consider Pan-Africanism on a functional level, not just on an ideological level, quoting Garvey, and we should know these things for those who are along the lines of that school of thought, Pan-Africanism. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely good to know that. But what I say in a functional way, a way where we can connect with some of our homeland brothers, you know what I'm saying, on the continent, to have some kind of dual citizenship where it opens up business for trade. And you know what I'm saying? It can help a lot of us out. You know what I mean? On a lot of different levels, especially if there's certain countries over in Africa offering repatriation. What is it? Last year was the 400th year, 2019, the 400th year that we were here as slaves. From when the documented slave ship, even though some accounts say 1555, but for the sake of argument, 1619. 400 years ago last year. And that was known as the year of the return back to Africa. You had many African Americans and other places in the diaspora returning back to the continent. Is that for everybody? No, I'm not saying that, because a lot of us got bones in the ground here, and a lot of us ain't even gonna leave their goddamn block, let alone leave the country. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, but it's about organizing on different levels. We have different layered and tiers oppositions against us. This isn't boogeymanism. This isn't conspiracyism. If you think so, nigga, wake your ass up before it's too late. It's reality. It's an age-old reality, and this is not a figment of our imagination. What is a figment of our imagination, though, is us thinking that we're going to get the tangibles on the level that we're looking for from this system alone, when we're not playing political chess and trying to levy certain things that can work in our collective interests, especially economically, tangibles that we need. You know what I'm saying? We're not really coming to the table with that, and we're not organizing on, and they're all those doing it, but we need to like kind of up the ante and accelerate the process, because temperature's rising and they're going to keep churning it up on us. You're not going to see an end to the police shootings. One day it's just going to stop. You're not going to see the injustice as prevalent as it is in your face the way that it is. You know what I'm saying? According to the Kerner Commission, you know, America is more just as if more separate, hostile, and unequal than it was, damn, in the 1950s. You know, this is a book right here. Probably showed it before, but I always like to go into this book right here by Andrew Hacker. Two Nations, Black, White, Separate, Hostile, and Unequal. You know, so this is talking about the Kerner Commission, and it has a lot of data. You know me, I'm always reading, so I got highlights, book, you know what I'm saying, placeholders in here, got my notes taken. I'm always, you know, reading up on things so I can be keen and sharp on the things that I'm talking about. I can see what's wrong, I can feel what's wrong, you know what I'm saying? But you always good to know and study in detail the sociological dynamics of how things are affecting us. You know, we already know we're psychologically enslaved and products of mental colonialism and subjects to that, but them shackles are being broken. A lot of people are starting to wake up, and there's so many factions of woke folk that you can't even keep up with it. But one thing we're not planning is tangibles, you know, internally building, you know what I'm saying, self. We're not focused on that enough. Another book I'm checking out, it's just on sociology. You know, I know with me, I like to study and focus on a lot of different things that explains in detail a lot of things that's going on around me, because it's like better prepares me, or helps me to understand, so I can better prepare for certain things. And I see things from a broader scope of understanding in a wider spectrum of things. You know what I'm saying? So I don't just focus on all the bad that's happened this year or the terror that's to come. You know what I'm saying? Everything that's going on makes me just a stronger, wiser person, wanting to be more solid. You know, I'm a solid person. There's always room for improvement with everything. You know what I'm saying? More sharper. You know what I mean? Makes me want to strive to be more healthier, more goal-oriented. You know what I'm saying? And more productive and proactive in any of my endeavors that I'm pursuing. So everything that I'm seeing, it only brings out, I think, not that the God in me is dormant, it's there, but I think it brings out a stronger, more illuminated, right, version of myself than ourselves that we can all tap into. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm reading more books on the strategy, art of war, psychologically and otherwise. You know what I mean? I'm reading, actually listen to the audio book, because you know, I ain't gonna front. Sometimes I get tired reading, start to fall asleep, getting a little older. But it's ill because you have audio books. I'm listening to the 50th Law by Robert Greene, 50th Law, and it's basically a lot of people are hip to the 48 Laws of Power. You know what I'm saying? That's a book. I actually read that book, listened to the audio too, like once or twice over the years. But the 50th Law is basically 50 Cent, you know, Curtis Jackson, the rapper 50 Cent's, his version that was, you know, composed and put together with the assistance of the author Robert Greene. And the 50th Law is deep because it talks about just how opportunity is where there is a crisis, or what seems to be great opposition and despair, knowing how to psychologically prepare yourself, right? And fine-tune yourself to turn these situations into opportunities, because these things that are happening that are inevitable should accelerate and heighten your sense of knowledge, awareness, survival, and achievement. You know what I'm saying? But you have to look at things for what they are. It's just a conspiracy to you, and it's just a bunch of wild-eyed militant woke niggas over here who sees the world from a narrow lens, you know what I'm saying, then, you know, that whatever outcome is on you. So, you know, with this pandemic going on, it seems like there's a spike. It doesn't seem like, but there's a spike, but there's definitely a spike in the numbers. There's a spike in the numbers. So they're already projecting it or planning for another shutdown, right? It's going to force people to really go out and try to get them vaccines, because it's going to really, the heightened fear causing fear mongering is going to cause people to respond and to react. You know what I mean? So, but for those who are, you know, who are going to be in the second quarantine, if it happens or when it happens this winter, utilize that time to really get in tune with yourself. If you already have been, get more in tune with yourself. You know, improvement happens in layers and in stages. It's not instant. It's not microwavable. It's not just add water and it's instant. Voila. You know, certain things take time, you know, and enjoy the grind of doing it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes having nowhere to go or really nothing to do, socially speaking, and having that social restriction or marginalization allows one to really go internally and go within himself or herself and really sort out some thoughts. I mean, you could go crazy and get cabin fever up in there. That's why I'm saying it's good to try to focus on and ponder positivity, even though the world around you is chaotic. In the midst of chaos, how you can tap into yourself and tap into your higher faculties of thought, tap into your inner strength and accelerate and bring that outwards and make it spread abroad is what we ought to be focusing on. You know what I'm saying? Having not just a New Year's resolution, but a new life resolution and a new life revolution internally within yourself. You know what I mean? Read more, study more. Because let me tell you something, when you're full of less drama, hate, resentment, frustration, right? And we all have those things to some extent, some way more than others. But when you're not full of that or laden with that in your emotions, you glow better, you grow better, and you flow better. You glow better, you grow better, and you flow better. That glow that you have when you're, you know, working on yourself and you're thinking more positive and you're meditating and you're eating right and you're working out. You know what I'm saying? You're getting in touch with loved ones that you might not have been in touch with for a while, or you're mending things that's mendable with broken relationships. That's a powerful thing. You know what I'm saying? We need to be focusing on those type of things in these trying and in these defining times. Because it's not a joke. This is serious. But in all seriousness, we don't want to walk around being overly depressed and being full of anxiety, because that's no way to live either. Because at the end of the day, what will be if we let it be. In order to impact or to intercept things, right, and offset things and cause a desired outcome that you want, you have to be proactive, you have to be prolific in your thinking, and you have to have supreme confidence, right? And that's a process if you get into that level of supreme confidence or just basic confidence for somebody. But these are the type of things that we need to be endeavoring on, getting our minds right, going into 2021. Because as I said at the start of this, what if 2020 is just a trailer of what's to come for the rest of the decade? I remember how the 90s was when it first started 30 years ago. That's when I first started really getting conscious. And by the way, speaking of 1990, thanks for hitting me off with that KRS-One, his new album in 2020. Shout out to Busta Rhymes too. He dropped some fire and he's kicking some heavy gems. And KRS-One, one of the people that helped to spark my desire of wanting to become more astute in Black history studies as a young teenager, right, was KRS-One, 1990, the Blueprint album, songs like You Must Learn. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No one told you about Benjamin Banneker, a brilliant Black man that invented the almanac. Can't you see where KRS is coming at? With Eli Whitley, Haile Selassie, Granville Woods made the walkie-talkie, Lewis Ladden made the improvement on Edison, Charles Drew did a lot for medicine, Harriet Tubman freed the slaves at night. Madam C.J. Walker made the straightening comb, but you wouldn't know this if you weren't shown all that stuff. I'm there back then listening to that, like, yo, I want to know how to talk like that and know that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? In 1990, now what, 30 years? I mean, he's come out with other stuff prior to then, but now he's coming back seeming like real hard with the consciousness. And you know what I'm saying? A Black Cop, that was my shit too. What you say when you see a devil down back in 95. But now it's 2020, which is 30 years from when I was first impacted and inspired by him in 1990. So you sent me that that album. I didn't listen to it all, but it was dope, man. I thank you for that, Baba. You know what I'm saying? And listening to more music that, because you're not just listening to music. Music has sounds, frequencies, and vibrations. And then the word, these are not just words like how you spell words, and words can cast spells. When you're listening to something over and over and over, it does have a rhythmic hypnosis type of an effect on you. That's a fact. It's not spooky, it's just realistic. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think they promote and perpetuate certain negative music and imagery and sound and all that, especially with us in it? You know what I mean? It's geared towards something. That's why they even said in 1991 with the secret meeting that was held. Look it up yourself. For those who don't know, you know what I'm saying? That that there was a private meeting called the secret meeting between record execs, judges, and other people who were interested in putting money into private prison industry and private industrial prisons, privatized prisons. So record execs, judges, and other people who were investors and bankers came and had a secret meeting. You know what I'm saying? Whistleblower revealed that. It doesn't sound far-fetched for those who think anytime you talk about what this system has always done and you bring light to something that you're a conspiracy theorist. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of a coon undertone for somebody who thinks everything that you say about these people and what they've been doing in the system all this time to your people, everything's a goddamn conspiracy. For those who might say that's a conspiracy, that doesn't sound far-fetched to me. Because I've seen when the type of the music changed. You always had your B-boy and your G street type of music rap and that element in the rap genre, in the hip hop genre. You always had that. But you also had a balance to it. You had the conscious music. You had the B-boy who had some knowledge of self and some street smarts, who will spew a message, you know what I'm saying, as gangster and hardcore as the tracks was back then with the hardcore beats. Then all of a sudden you notice it just became supremely super niggified at a certain point. Everything was just seen one-dimensional and on one lane. And if it wasn't about using music to control along certain lines, or socially engineer, that's what I mean by control, to be specific, certain outcomes of things, sociologists, that's why it's good to study sociology, already could predict the financial forecast for the prison industrial system and how that would become to flourish. And as a result, if you look at from the years when crack hit, gangster rap hit, military grade weapons all hit around the same time, not too far off from each other in that same time frame. And during the Reaganomics era of Ronald Wilson Reagan's administration, right? What happened was in Bill Clinton's administration, not even 10 years later, you had Joe Biden, Senator Joe, who came up with the crime bill. The crime bill re-enslaved us. the grand wizards of the Ku Klux Klan, Robert Byrd, the one who he said is his mentor, right? And a good friend of him, and he was a wonderful man, right? A lot of us, I guess, purposely missed that or just didn't care, you know what I mean? Imagine what kind of conversations they had on race. Imagine what their perspective is. He even said, I don't even want my daughter, I'm not for integration either, but this is what he said as a public figure, person running as a presidential candidate who's now elected. I don't want my children in a racialized jungle, he said. I don't want my children in a racialized jungle. This is what he was talking, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just not trying to sit there and say, oh, Joe Biden said this, and Joe Biden said that. I'm just trying to like point and highlight some of the things that our people really need to focus on, because we're happy because he pulled the pimp card on us by putting Kamala there. He already knew that would win over people who had a popular vote, that he knew would go out there and rush to the polls and give an emotional vote and not really ask for tangibles or not really petition hard enough for tangibles. You know what I'm saying? They just want symbol with no substance. And as long as we keep loving the devil because he gives us nothing, the devil meaning the system, those who are in the seat of power, because they give us nothing, right? Then we are aiders and abettors and contributors to our stagnation and even our demise. This is facts. This is facts. You see what I'm saying? So we were re-enslaved by, if you look at the 13th Amendment, how that was fashioned and put together, you know what I'm saying, back in the, the post antebellum era in Reconstruction after the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment. How do we re-enslave Black folks? Slave convict leasing under the 13th Amendment. Slave convict leasing, which as a result leased out so-called free Blacks to farms and private plantations. A lot of these private plantations were turned to prisons. You know what I'm saying? Like Angola down in Louisiana, which was a notorious slave plantation. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see as many people incarcerated as bad as the 70s and 80s was and all that. You had your gangs, you had, a lot of stuff popping off in the streets. But it seemed like when that crack hit, during the times of Ronald Wilson Reagan, Reaganomics came into effect, you seen a free fall drop. We already wasn't just doing all that good as a community, right? But you seen it drop free fall. You seen the destruction of the communities in various major cities all across the nation where crack just popped up. And then you seen executive orders put into effect, because that's how they do it. Warfare is psychological. Warfare is also using deception too, and using a lot of deceptive strategic tactics. They have been doing this to us. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of us don't want to see it. We're still wondering if it's a goddamn conspiracy or not. I mean, god damn, you're in a bear trap wondering if you're stuck. You know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy. And then in re-enslaving us and disenfranchising us more, you know what I mean? It destroyed a lot of communities, furthering the economic wealth gap and other just different disparities. You see what I'm saying? But be that as it may, we are here where we're at at this stage of our sojourn, collectively speaking, as a group of people. And it's like, where do we go from here? That's something that we really need to ponder and ask ourselves and consider. Where do we go from here? I said this before in a few videos, and I like to say this because it's true. It holds true every time I say it. The way we're going, or the way we're not going even, niggas are going to end up as fossils in a museum in the next few decades. Considering all the dysfunction, the black on black crime, we've seen a death of a lot of popular up and coming young rappers. You know what I'm saying? This year as well, which was off the chain too. As much racial injustice and police shootings you see happening, the pandemic, a lot of the death, because, you know what I'm saying, the death rate with COVID amongst Africans in America, African Americans. You also seen a spike and a jump in crime, especially homicides. In a lot of cities where the homicide rate had been, a little bit, low for over the last 10, 15 years even, or longer in some cities. You've seen a spike in that. Because a lot of these things are socially engineered, man. It's political, economic ripple effects, and along with depression and other things too. You know what I'm saying? So we've contended with a lot this year. I mean, our issues are layered and tiered. A good brother of mine, he always used to say, we're not only affected, we are infected. We're not only affected psychologically, economically, and all these things, how it trickles down into other things. We are not only affected, we are infected as a collective. You see what I'm saying? So where we go from here, what we ought to do is really still on the table of discussion and is very critical. We need a Black symposium. You know what I'm saying? We need a Black plebiscite where we're independent as a people instead of just joining or supporting a party and it's popular because your grandmother and grandmothers, and always respect our grandmothers and great grandmothers. We always have to show love and respect to them, but because they supported that at a time, that we should just be loyal to that, which hasn't worked for us, but has diametrically worked against us. You know what I'm saying? We need our own plebiscite. We need our own symposium. We need our own plan of action. We need tangibles. In a world that is ever evolving and ever advancing, and writing you out of and fading you out of the picture, and we're contributing to a lot of that with our undisciplined behavior and attitude towards each other. We are becoming aiders and abettors, and shit. The skinheads can look at some of the way we're killing and murdering each other and take a few tips. At the rate we're going, like, damn, these niggas, they got us beat. We ain't never got that many body on niggas. In the last 40 years, if they've gotten in the last 2 years, just in every major city across America, or less. So there's a lot of things we have to deal with. There's a lot of things we're dealing with externally, meaning the system, plans of actions geared towards you, against you, not in your best interest. And then internally, our own divisiveness, our own self-hatred, our own distrust, our own lack to support ourselves, our businesses, our best interests, and our own agendas, or devise one that we can support. As long as we're doing that, we're going to fall short. 2020 is going to seem like a walk in the park and a cakewalk to what's to come if we continue on the way we're continuing on. Is Brother Sankofa sitting here trying to chastise the people? Nah. But as a long-time militant, revolutionary mind Black man who, for the last 30 years, you know what I'm saying, have committed my mind to studying, to always knowing what was up with this, with our opposition and this system and our enemy. Always was on that. Always knew that's just in my spirit. But as I've learned, expanded, evolved my thinking, broadened my scope of understanding, and got more in-depth and more layered understanding, it's only made me a lot more vanguard, militant, and enlightened at the same time. So speaking out of love for the people first and foremost, not because I'm here trying to chastise the people like, man, Sankofa, what's your plan of action? We need a plan of action. It's me just building with the people and and expressing my thoughts and my love and my concern for the best interests of us collective. Because I'm not just a person yes, I'm my own individual self. Black people are not a monolith, right? That's a fact. However, I am a part of a collective. There is an objective, agendas, and all of that geared towards us, and not for our best interest. So I'm speaking on the collective as an individual, because out of love and out of a legitimate and great concern for the embetterment, the empowerment, the improvement, and the survival of us Africans in the diaspora, but right here in America especially, because this is my foundation where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? So having more serious, critical dialogues is definitely about what we ought to do is important. Knowing how great Egypt was is very important, very powerful. Knowing how great West Africa was and is very important, very powerful, and very critical. But knowing the times that we are in and what we ought to do is even more, it eclipses the importance of knowing great classical ancient African history. Because if we keep it up, shit, we're gonna be history. Or written out of it completely. So I believe that the times are shaping and molding and evolving us into a stronger, more wiser, more empowered, and more awoken people. And we ought to become that, because the opposition is always evolving, advancing, becoming more strategic. And if you don't believe you have an opposition, God damn it, you already lost and advanced. So with that being said, Baba, 2020, wow, a powerful year. 2020 vision. Remember that song back in the 80s? If I knew back then what I know now, what, when, why, and how. 2020 vision, meaning I could see clearly, even more so than I already have been seeing with this year, because of so many different eye openers that have taken place, along with the other eye openers and mind openers that I've been experiencing, that we've been experiencing. So 2020 is just making me, as myself as a Black man, strive to become more sharper, more keen, more serious, and more evolved and empowered. That's what I'm getting out of this. That's what I'm heading and starting trekking my journey into this decade on. And I just hope there are like minds, and I know there are, but we need to start to network. So with that being said, 2021, we're on the brink of 2021. Happy fake New Year's, because we know that a new year doesn't take place in the dead of winter. It takes place in the spring where life is springing and blooming. But be that it as it may, the New Year's that we're accustomed to, that we're used to, and that the masses acknowledge, the new year coming in, don't just have a new year, strive to make a new you, because it's very critically important. It should be incumbent, you know what I'm saying, on our behalf, because it's about to get realer. So I don't want to hold the family up. I thank all the people who tuned in and commented. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your time and your attention, and definitely your love. And I want to thank Baba for opening up once again his platform, which is my home. We have a symbiotic relationship. He says, my platform, you're a major contributor to what my platform is and is becoming and has been.
That's right.
He is a major contributor to me becoming a better person, a better speaker, more studious. Because I remember younger, I'm not that young, but I was still young as far as being in front of a camera with a mic and then off the top. Remember, Baba, we shoot to Times Square and just start polishing. I don't have nothing in the top of my mind I don't want to do. It'd be freezing sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And we just go out there and just start and have an interview. Some people, oh, you're long-winded. You're not asking this question. You're saying I had no professional background. But it's like I had a training through Baba TV. Cold terrains. I mean, you know, seen us in Boston. You know, seen us in DC. You know, seen us in Times Square. I mean, we got around. You know what I'm saying? We're heading back to the bean soon, too. Hopefully in the next couple of months, once it gets a little warmer, because they're getting hit up there hard with the snow. You know what I'm saying? But my whole point is him allowing me to sharpen, to perfect my skills, to see some of the flaws I was making as a person that was young in what I was doing, meaning attempt at journalism, speaking to people, engaging people in critical and sometimes controversial dialogues, helped me to become sharper and better at it. So we have a symbiotic relationship because he helped me to become sharp, and him helping me to become sharp and sharper has been allowed me to become a better contributing factor or persona on this powerful platform that he has. You know, and I'm glad to be a member and a family member of the house of Baba TV, which keeps it fire every time. You know what I'm saying? So I got much love and honor, double honor and respect for you, Baba. And, you know, yeah, you don't always see me in front of the camera like that all the time. That's about to change. I'm about to start to get back. You know, I've been on my training, my working out, my sharpening, my minds. You know, I made a move a year or two ago. You know what I'm saying? So just adjusting, readjusting, and a lot of different transformations I'm undergoing for the self-improvement of myself. You know what I'm saying? Is you're going to see a sharper, a wiser, a more maturer, and an enhanced version of your brother Sankofa. And Baba, by you allowing me to come on a platform and talk to the people, you're helping me become a better version of myself and what it is that I'm doing. So I thank you once again. I thank the people for tuning in. I love y'all. Peace, love, and light. And remember, life is always great as long as a judge doesn't give it to you. With that, I want to say peace, power, love, and light to the family. I'm tuning out. Black power.
All right, family. What I wanted to say on the first broadcast that we had the technical difficulties, that this is definitely my big brother and one of the major founding fathers, as you all know, who've been following Little Old Baba TV for a long time, and he is the cornerstone of one of the major cornerstones of Baba TV. And I want to keep quoting Brother Red Pill, those of us who have others and really depend on others on our channel are only as good as the brothers and sisters that are on your channel. So if that doesn't keep you humble and close to the ground, humble. Yeah, I don't know what the hell will. It's either that or a damn beating. I prefer to keep these teachings in mind than get a beating. I've had enough of those in my life. So you live, you learn, and to humble yourself and give respect where it's due, especially to God's chosen people, the original people of the planet Earth, to whom everybody comes from, and all scriptures and wise sayings, it says to honor your father and mother, that your days may be long in the land that your Lord God giveth you. So I just want a seat at the back of the bus. I don't like to sit in the front of the bus. I'll get in the front when it comes to fighting white folks and white supremacy, though. But when it comes to my people, I will gladly sit my ass in the back of the bus and let the kings and queens take their rightful place. And with that being said, Brother Sankofa, I'm going to see you in Beantown soon, my brother. I'm going to see you in the Bean soon. And family, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check that new KRS-One out. That good old New York rap. Shout out to the